I am Laura Silva Quesada, daughter of Jose Silva and president of Silva International, the company my father created over 4 decades ago to train humanity in the art of subjective education and subjective communication. It was always my father's dream to do his part in transforming this planet into a paradise, and having spent the greater part of my life at his side, not only as him being my father, but my mentor, it was a dream that I came to own as well. I want to thank Dr. Laszlo Domage and his colleagues for inviting me to be a part of this historic convention. I am honored. In addition, I am humbled to share the stage with Dr. Edgar Mitchell and Dr. Rosa Rivas. To all of you here, thank you for participating in this extraordinary and historic event and for allowing me to share my thoughts and vision here today. I honor your choice to be here. Again, thank you. I would like to begin by sharing with you some thoughts and ideas about where we have been, are now, and envision where we will go. But first, let us create a context for the coming remarks. Today, a student starting on a technical degree this fall will discover new technical information, and the kind of information we use to make changes in our world is doubling every 2 years. By 2012, students starting a 4-year technical college will discover that half of what they learned in their first year will be outdated by their 3rd year. Supercomputers are predicted to exceed the capacity of the human brain by 2018. That's only 10 short years from now, according to a July 6, 2008 press release by IBM. In the last 10 years, science has achieved remarkable understandings about our relationship with every part of the universe. Many scientific experiments have conclusively demonstrated that everything is connected to everything else through the quantum hologram. Children starting school this year, 2008, will graduate from college in 2026, having accepted the quantum hologram as fact and its attendant phenomena of non-local communication and computers that exceed the human brain as ordinary. The world's population will have exceeded 8 billion, a 25% increase in need of food, water, transportation, and shelter over today. Add to these amazing facts, designing and building a quantum computer is now realistic. This means computing capability far exceeding anything ever dreamed of before, including IBM's predicted supercomputer. A quantum computer is radically different than what we currently use. A way to think about the difference is to ask current computer technology, no matter how advanced, to search New York City's telephone directory for a name. It has to go through every single name until it finds the one requested. Quantum computers perceive the entire directory simultaneously. This level of computational power will dramatically influence the speed of change. Our world has always changed in direct proportion to the amount of knowledge we create and can use. These few facts serve to illustrate breathtaking speed of change more than what changes will occur. Vast changes profoundly influencing all of us are imminent. It is only a matter of time, and a very short time at that, before our world will be deeply impacted by these discoveries. Such a future, based on this science, simply takes my breath away. How are we going to cope with such sweeping changes? How are we going to prepare ourselves, and more so, our children, for this amazing and inevitable future? Let's talk briefly about education by taking a macro look at the worldwide educational system. Every formal educational system around the world has a similar hierarchy of subjects. At the top are mathematics and language, followed by the humanities. At the very bottom are the arts. This hierarchical structure uses only a part of our abilities. Generally speaking, a major focus is left brain education. Furthermore, the system downgrades interest in music, arts, beauty, self-expression, and communication. We are literally using only half of our brain. As creativity expert Sir Ken Robinson put it, our educational system has mined our minds in the way we strip-mined the earth for a particular commodity. In the future, that commodity won't serve us as well as it has in the past. By 2038, UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, predicts more students will be graduating from our worldwide formal educational systems than since the beginning of human history. Is it possible to cope with the inevitable avalanche of information and change flowing down the mountain of knowledge using this bias of how we are educated to think? John Naisbitt, author of Megatrends, says, "We are drowning in information but starved for knowledge. Uncontrolled and unorganized information is no longer a resource. Instead, it becomes the enemy." Can we use that knowledge wisely? We are probably all familiar with Albert Einstein's comment, "The world that we have made as a result of the level of thinking that we have done so far has created problems we cannot solve at the level of thinking at which we created them." Einstein called for transformed thinking. To transform our thinking, we need to identify its source and how it works. Let us postulate, as science has now accepted, that thinking exists outside our brain and uses only a tiny subset of what is called the entire quantum hologram because of our educational bias. Let us further declare that the subset we use defines how we live and think. Let us agree to call that subset the paradigm of our existence. I'll represent that paradigm as a circle with all the things to do and say in our life as various cartoons and shapes. Obviously, what is inside the circle is very small compared to what is outside the circle, which is infinite. What we can notice about this present paradigm is that in addition to the educational bias, there is another, more fundamental bias. This bias lives at the core of our human experience. This bias dictates how most people experience all that we can do and say in life. The bias is across all cultures, education, and age. We have been trained to experience life as a series of problems we must individually solve in order to be whole and complete. A great example of this fundamental bias is how social sciences view human weakness and negative motivations such as anxiety, lust, selfishness, paranoia, anger, disorder, and sadness. These weaknesses and negative emotions are viewed as authentic and problems to be solved, while strengths and virtues such as altruism, courage, honesty, duty, joy, health, responsibility, and good cheer are considered derivative of solved negativity. Thus, technologies that can solve problems have been perceived to have a higher value than those that produce the experience of joy. It is the problem-solution bias that establishes the values we have in our educational system today. We describe that way of being as the problem-solution paradigm. We live out our lives with a persistent belief that if we solve enough problems, all will be well and we will finally achieve peace, joy, love, okayness, a oneness with God, nature, and ourselves and our fellows. If we fail to solve enough problems, our lives are a failure and something is wrong with us and we cannot experience whole and complete. None of this is to say that the problem-solution focus won't yield results, because it does. The reality is that we have gone about as far as we can go with this focus. It is now time for a paradigm shift. It has been proposed that all culture paradigms that decisively control the thoughts and feelings of its members exist outside the brain, in the spiritual dimension, outside time and space, and that the quantum hologram will produce whatever desires or wants a culture can possibly dream up. Whatever desires or wants you can possibly dream up. It has been referred to by many names: quantum hologram, first cause in the Kabbalah, kingdom of heaven, Holy Ghost, and the mind of God, just to name a few. It's everywhere, all the time, and appears to have been with us since creation began, what physicists called the Big Bang. It equates a quantum hologram to be like gravity. Gravity does not care whether an individual steps off a building or curb. Its force operates just the same. The quantum hologram is not, however, only a force field. It is also intelligent. It is intelligent and without judgment. It fulfills anything desires. It appears to be an intelligent field in that it responds to the language of coherent human emotion. What is coherent human emotion? It's the kind of emotion we experience when we are feeling, thinking, and expressing those thoughts and feelings with full congruence. Except for the language, this field sounds very similar to what has always been known as God. Coherent human emotions result from educating oneself on how to discern one's internal experience. An aspect of my father's discovery, establishing points of reference, was a concept way ahead of its time. In fact, no one word could describe the experience, and thus he coined the word psychorientology, which means orienting the mind. This practice provides a way to navigate within the spiritual dimension without the barriers of time and space, enriching your internal and external experience. My dear friend and mentor, Harry McKnight, who played a vital role in the history of the Silva method, when talking about mental projection, establishing points of reference, case working, and the ability we have to go beyond the limitations of time and space, the very experience all of you here have undergone would say, when you can go forward and backward in time, that is a quality of being infinite. When you can have access to all information, past, present, and future, that is a quality of being omniscient. When you can tap resources and apply those resources to solve all problems you are faced with, that is a quality of being omnipotent. When you can solve such problems at a distance, that is a quality of being omnipresent. When you are able to do, make, and/or create anything you desire, that is a quality of being omnificent, infinite, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, and omnificent. Who are you? Because whomever you are, higher intelligence and you are related. Among the most remarkable experiments my father performed was with two children in separate rooms. Let us call the children Jimmy and Timmy. Let me refresh your memory of the experiment. The researcher with Jimmy was given a sealed envelope with instructions to open at 8 p.m. A second researcher in another part of the building with Timmy was given a similar envelope to be opened at 8 p.m. The instructions for Jimmy requested that he be asked to create something with his imagination and describe it. Jimmy created a green truck with red wheels. The researcher with Timmy asked Timmy to go to his levels and find out what Jimmy was doing. Jimmy did so and accurately described what Jimmy was doing. Many of us in this room have personal experience similar to this experiment. The key is that we can observe one another's imagination. We can even participate in one another's internal subjective experience. Think about the sweeping power of that simple experiment. Example: a powerful leader generates an idea in and shares with others who become engaged and contribute. Remember, creating in the subjective realm is neither good nor evil. The realm is without judgment. The idea is shared both objectively and subjectively. The idea exists everywhere and in everything we touch. We shake hands and share DNA. We write a paper, and the contents are parts of the universe. We talk to each other, and our experience is connected to everything. We believe Victor Hugo referred to this concept when he said, "There is nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come." The initial idea grows as more and more people's minds are tuned to the subjective idea, even if it is unconscious, in the same fashion that Timmy tuned to Jimmy's creation consciously. Whole civilizations live from these subjective images. When born into a culture, you are automatically tuned to the subjective images. They are the unconscious controller of one's life. The idea moves to a physical reality as more and more people join that energy. The idea existing powerfully in the subjective realm becomes the directing and organizing force. Given our left brain orientation, the impact of the subjective realm is usually unconscious. The fact that it is unconscious does not diminish its control. Once the idea takes root, it grows, controls, and produces a perceived reality that is so strong, humans will kill to defend it, as many of you in this room have experienced. Our children, and hundreds of generations of children before, are and have been born into the creation and power of the problem-solution paradigm. I call this creation old mind. The remarkable Jimmy-Timmy experiment explains how we created and continue to reinforce the problem-solution paradigm. Einstein's concept that we need to transform thinking is a necessity and not a luxury. Instead of going to peace, love, and joy to find whole and complete, which, by the way, was always the intent of old mind, we now have the technology to come from whole and complete. The world is already building the whole and complete paradigm. We see it happening in green companies, in positive psychology, and in the worldwide growing interest in spiritual knowledge, as well as in the extraordinary strides made in science. Most observers call this growth of consciousness, and most involved are unaware specifically how it is being created in the subjective realm. Regardless of its name, a rising tide lifts all boats. We need only to pull up our anchors and allow ourselves to rise with the tide. We think this phenomenon has a lot of assistance and interest from the other side, simply meaning other than this side, or the objective experience of the physical world as we have always understood it to be, until maybe now. We are in partnership with intelligence on the other side that we tap onto by going within with coherent emotions and thoughts. We say partnership because both sides need each other to create the new mind, new world. We are building on that understanding to create new mind. We can make an idea's time come by creating a new paradigm of whole and complete, one of love, of oneness, of peace, from which we begin. We can declare new mind paradigm to be reality in the same way that problem solution paradigm has seemed reality. What we believe is missing from the ongoing creation of new mind is to identify and flesh out the depth and understanding of the age-old concepts that are at the very core of the Silva training and can finally be validated by science today. The Silva method is the secret behind the secret to living a life filled with grand realizations and of true purpose. At the core is points of reference. Points of reference allow us to consciously navigate our creations in the quantum hologram. Initially, we observe, and then begin to participate. It is the conscious and intentional participation that distinguishes the Silva method from all other methodologies that exist today. For example, in the metals exercise, we are directed to find our way into metals and then interact with each by using our subjective senses to determine light, temperature, sound, texture. We discovered that the four metals used, while very similar in nature, were distinctly different from one another, and we were able to discern and interpret this information. We did similar exercises in other kingdoms, such as those of inanimate matter. We then moved to create our laboratory and counselors. Then we worked with human problems. This is a much deeper experience than mere observation. In this way, we began to learn to navigate the subjective realm. It is through this observation that, as I remember my good friend Dr. Rosa Rivas would say, we are able to experience a very unique perspective of all existence, and through this kind of observation, we gain an understanding of all else that exists alongside us. Through this understanding, we gain knowledge. Knowledge of our interconnectedness to all else that is, and that leads us to a deep respect for all existence of all kind, which leads to a full acceptance, and ultimately, unconditional love. Without these experiences, we would simply not be able to make distinctions in the subjective world. Our training in points of reference in the various matter kingdoms allow distinguishing among memory, imagination, and psychic projection. The more points of reference we establish, the greater the distance we travel, and the more we integrate the kingdom within with the kingdom without. As Charles de Gaulle said, "We may well go to the moon, but that's not very far. The greatest distance we have to cover still lies within us." The Silva method is maturing, as is a significant portion of humanity. We have learned the futility of going to and are ready to come from. We have learned to appreciate what life on this planet can be here and now. We have a body that enables us to experience marvelous sensations. We watch an eagle soar, and there's a part of us that experiences what that is like. We see ocean waves cascading on the shore, and our senses expand to move with that eternal motion and power. We see a star-filled night, hear a baby laughing, and are filled with joy and wonder. We know we are more than that body, as wonderful as it is. We know we are connected to everything, everywhere. We can now reap the rewards of our prior Silva training to move what we now understand that Silva brought to us all, to the place where we can hear this new message. We can move from the idea of this planet being a problem-solving planet to the idea whose time has come. That this is a planet of joy. A planet where we exist as whole and complete. We can give up the idea that we have to solve all the problems of the past and present in order to arrive at peace, love, joy, experiencing our very existence, and begin to create a new world, a new mind, beginning with the concept of being whole and complete. I honor Jose Silva, my father and mentor. I honor his life's work, and I am honored to be involved in breathing new vision into his legacy. I am dedicating this vision to the man who gave his life to the beauty we all are. I came here today to describe a future that we can create together. I came here to introduce you to a path we can follow to generate something the world has never seen before. I came here to build on the shoulders of his genius. Gone are the days when a program of instruction could be written on one's own knowledge. Gone are the days when an individual could assimilate all the information around a subject and then create the result. Silva International, in partnership with others, is evolving a radically new methodology for creating programs to benefit humanity. The Silva method has helped to identify how things work in the spiritual realm. It acknowledges that what Jose Silva discovered and codified is just the beginning, and it will take many minds and many different points of view to create a more powerful, spiritual world language. You will soon benefit from this new technology that involves some remarkable Internet tools capable of supporting asynchronous communication, including various experts in subjective training programs. At this very moment of my life, a life I so love, and one I share with a wonderful and loving husband, fantastic children, brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, aunts, and colleagues, I have one more thing to say to you. I love being alive during these momentous times and involved with all of you by continuing the work my father began over 40 years ago. And because of that, this is our stand. We choose to be the leader in building the paradigm of whole and complete. We choose a new way of thinking and being. We choose coming from joy, happiness, okayness, and oneness with God and our fellow humans. We choose to honor and respect the many rivers of knowledge coming together in a new mind. This is who we are. This is what you can count on. Thank you.